A great sort of key change in Australian art happens when we have the time of the Antipodeans in 1959, when that's the first time that suddenly we're talking about two distinct avant-gardes. We're saying there's a figurative avant-garde and an abstract avant-garde, and the two are more or less competing with each other. Whereas up until that point, we always understood the great opposition in Australian art to be between more academic paintings, more traditional style paintings, paintings of gum trees and landscape, and the rather weird things that were being made by decadent artists overseas and finding their way into this country. If you interviewed people in Australia, what did you think of that show? People would say, "Oh, I liked it," or "Oh, I didn't like it much," or "It was really interesting." But in Japan, do you get somebody at random and you ask them as they come out the door, "What do you think of that show?" The person would say, "I thought it was fascinating because I thought of this woman in the desert and the life that she leads. And the kind of pictures and the paintings that she does remind me of the Shinto concept of such and such." And everybody had a long, involved explanation, like they'd gone in there and written a whole novel in front of the work. Now, that's a cultural difference. It's a difference in terms of how you relate to the object, how you relate aesthetically, how you relate in terms of form, that you see these forms in front of you as inherently meaningful, is inherently deep in all sorts of ways, and you respond to the sense that there is some kind of spiritual dimension in all this. And we know that Antoine Saint-Exupéry famously said, "There is only one question today, which is how to restore the sense of the spiritual to man." And if we look at taste and judgment, you might very well say that's the key issue of taste and judgment. How do we do something which goes beyond the mere mechanism of discrimination and information and saying that's good, that's bad, that's red, that's blue, and say, what is it that causes this thing to touch me in a deeper way?
I guess partly why artists are so keen to be written about, that is because somebody is thinking about their work. And that engagement is so nourishing and such a relief when even your bloody partner is just going, "Oh yeah, it's good."
Again, makes me into a terrible fogey. You know, we used to have something called a Commonwealth, which used to fund cultural organizations and education and healthcare and things like that. And there are villains who stripped us of our Commonwealth, who should be hung up by their heels, and they walked away scot-free.
That when I went to art school and I studied to be a painter, I didn't study to be a curator. There was no career path. Nobody ever said, if you want to be a curator, you do this, this and this. And when I was at high school, I'm sure my career advisor, who was terrible, wouldn't have even known. He might have thought it had something to do with lawn bowls.